So I have questions. Wayne, first of all, why would HeyGen release that? It's really bad, unless we were just using it wrong. Didn't seem like it. And also, what are the use cases for Wayne?
Okay, as far as use cases, that we'll have to discuss in a minute. But we were definitely using this wrong when we started this up. I don't know. Can you see my screen? You're okay.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So right here where it said language, I didn't see the word learn right there, and I just said saw chat in English and assumed it wanted to chat in English. I wasn't reading the whole thing, trying to figure out how to get it in here. But this is actually a breakdown of the type of conversation you want to have. So Wayne was stuck in a learn language mode. That's why he was so wanting us to, would you like to practice that and phrase that? That's what he was trying to do, was teach you or teach us how to say certain phrases in English, because
Oh,
speaking, I don't, yeah. So he totally screwed up there, but he's obviously got several that are pre-built in here. I don't know what the HNSDR is, business coach, we can guess
sales
it.
development, something or other.
Maybe,
Sales development rep. I don't know.
possibly.
Probably.
Yeah, something like that, because I don't see another sales one. And then this is Interactive Avatar 101. So I would assume that's the one they probably want as their demo most of the time, because it would be a basic one. And then there's the
Oh,
option to create new, which has, your intros, links, and then you've got this down here. And I was looking at their tip stuff, because this, even though it's video, is very similar to the brand rep stuff. And I think the scripting ideas and concepts used for this and for that are the same. So I kind of wanted to look through some of their suggestions, like how do they suggest you prompt this kind of thing? How do you work that out? So I think there's some good knowledge in here on how to do that stuff. But as far as what is the actual use case, I don't know, because when I video chat, it's usually with a person that I know.
I can tell you why they released it, Rob. Because it's gaining attention. It's like cheap marketing. It's PR. Right?
Yeah.
And
it's
a guy
really
like Ethan
bad. Like
Mollick,
we used it there, and it's a huge delay.
right? But you know about it, and tens of thousands of other people now are aware of it. And they're like, okay, well, this sucks today, but I'm gonna keep these guys on my radar. Like that's pretty cheap PR when you think about it. I'm gonna bet most of the AI, we looked at Ethan Mollick, but I bet if you look at your other AI like email groups that you're on, several of them won't mention that. Several might even make their own videos like we just did. They might even tear it apart and say, wow, this is terrible. Like, why did they release it? But it's still free PR. And somebody's going to put it together and not screw it up like we just did with the learn language thing. And delay is going to be 3 seconds instead of 90 seconds. And, it'll be okay. And you'll say, all right, well, that's pretty good. And I'm going to check back in a month or 2 months and see how it's progressed. So I would do the exact same thing, get it to ready, fire, aim. So people are like freaked out about it or joking about it or laughing about it or whatever. The use cases, that becomes an interesting one. It, I think, becomes more use case when you can replicate a real person. So when we have AI Chuck versus real Chuck,
I disagree. I don't think that's where the value is. Rob, high five.
Testing
You too.
testing hand gestures. Difficult conversation, Wayne. Seems like the antidote to what all of these tech CEOs got wrong last year and their HR departments when they fired a bunch of people in a really terrible way. So now you can just have Wayne pre-trained on a script. It'll be so frustrating, even more so for the people who are getting fired by video call. But I feel like this is going to be very controversial. That use case, if you go back, Chuck, I don't know if you saw it.
wait, you're
It's already
going to
there.
have Wayne fire everyone?
I think so. Chuck, can you go back?
Uh,
And somehow that's better than just having your email shut out.
conversation.
Well, if it was like Brian Avatar, you can really mass fire everyone in a video email at the same time, but individually. So you can have 100 video meetings, all with Brian Avatar.
I feel like we could almost guarantee that this is going to happen at some company. There's going to be an AI like
That's going to
avatar that fires people en masse.
It's gonna be again, I think it's a PR thing. I'm about ready to fire some people using this. That sounds like a great story. I appreciate these ideas for use cases, Rob. This is
That could be a really good story.
it could be. You could like start a protest in Spain or wherever you are. Start spray painting.
Lost my right to be fired by a real person. How low down the totem pole have you got to be?
Well, Chuck can go spray paint something in the woods, I guess. There's some trees there you can spray
Oh,
paint.
yeah, lots of trees. Oh, no, both
Peanut
like
butter.
peanut butter.
You can have a riot with the chicken coop. I don't know.
You hear my rooster there? He's crowing in the background.
See? He's fired. I hadn't thought of that. It's a really creative use case though, Rob. I hadn't considered that being one of them. I do think
100%
that
this is happening.
there will be people who send their avatars to join meetings and they're going to be horrible and people are all going to be annoyed because you got this
That's what
avatar
I'm thinking. That's what people are going to end up doing. They're going to send their avatar to the meeting. I was actually thinking about this with my phone last night because we're talking about the brand rep stuff, talking to the AI bots and stuff. I'm going to end up having a bot on my phone, and my bot's going to end up talking to another company's bot, and
Yeah, of course.
it's going to be bots talking to bots is what it's going to be. People are never going to talk to anybody.
I think that could be a great thing for maybe a majority of people. Maybe.
Might be. Well, I don't know. When did we become a global world of introverts, man?
Fine,
Internet.
great.
But I feel like a lot of people are worried about their personal skills. You see so many courses about it, and I think some people just genuinely aren't great with people, or they'll keep their cameras off. Maybe they're late. Like this will always be on time. You'll always be there. It'll always have an opinion. Might not be the right one, but it'll have an opinion at least. I actually think this could be a really good thing for a lot of people. Not necessarily for business or
But then what are
productivity,
the
but for
people
people.
What are the people doing though?
So
So
here's
how
what it's
far
gonna
until
do.
we all send our own avatars to this meeting and have something useful to discuss?
I think they're on to us.
Basically, we just have to say, here's the topic. Avatar Brian, Avatar Greg, Avatar Rob, Avatar Chuck, discuss.
And go
Chuck,
with it.
Chuck to send, Greg be in the middle, Brian, whatever. Rob just, make up stuff,
Excellent.
get cool things.
Really
And that would get us, it does.
So Chuck, can you fix this to make it Wayne be a tech bro who thinks that AI is the end of the world and we have to fear for
Which time have we got?
Skynet or Ex Machina or whatever being
Of
you know,
course.
a big problem for us?
We've got an hour before
I think your number one use case for this, Rob, is going to be training. So it would be, I'm going to give a presentation or I'm going to do a sales pitch and you're going to critique me and give me feedback. You're going to be trained on the sort of perfect pitch, the perfect, sales document or training, whatever that our company has. And it's going to hear you out, right? Um, and give you feedback. Whether it's good at it or not, I'm curious because it's not clear to me that it can pick up facial expressions in the actual video portion of it. It seems like it's only picking up audio, and
think
clearly nonverbal matters.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it's there in terms of pitch and tone, in terms of being able to pick up on yours, unless you maybe shout. Like I feel like if you take on a story arc through some sort of deck, I'm not sure it would pick up on the arc, but I don't think it would feel the same things that a human would feel. I actually think, but it
So
won't feel anything.
at this point, we have the tech from different areas to build that, right?
Yes.
So like Hue, that can actually take your inflections. That can take your how your wording is and say, okay, you're happy, you're sad, you're this, you're frustrated, you're nervous, you're whatever. And it can do all that. So reality is once they integrate that with the basically the audio processing and you feed that into a large language model, the thing can say, okay, they're frustrated, you need to calm it down, blah, blah, blah. Then they can respond to large language model text, which will be more accurate. And then from there, it can do the video of HeyGen. The reality is, HeyGen videos are only going to get better and become better and become more accurate. The lips and the movements and all that stuff will be there in no time. I'm assuming. So the reality is, we just saw there was a sales company doing sales training that has a bot like this. This literally just replaced that, and for free.
Yeah, and Salesforce just integrated this.
Yeah,
They
it's
call it their
Salesforce. Yeah.
Coach. So Chuck, one correction on that. I want it to be clear that it is a billionaire tech pro or somebody that with significant influence over the tech industry, not just some random dude that thinks he knows what he's talking about. I mean, somebody that actually has power and influence in the tech world. Yeah, I mean, that's popping up. There's different people that have it. There's also this. Have you seen Rob Delphi.ai? DELPHI.ai?
No.
So what that is, in case you haven't seen it, Chuck, I don't know if you've seen it either,
AI.
Greg, but it does make you into an avatar. So it takes whatever body of work you have, any, articles, blogs, books, you can take videos, transcribe them, whatever, and you feed it all into this AI and you take some video of yourself and it could then create you. So like this HeyGen one that is just using a generic, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a real person. I don't know if the actual person is AI generated or they're just taking a real person and turning him to AI. It's
Yeah.
unclear to me. But no, this takes you as a person and creates a version of you, and then people are selling it. So the business model of Delphi.ai is, okay, I don't have time to coach you. You can't pay my, $10,000 a month minimum coaching fee. But for $50 a month, you can get to my AI, and so can 1,000 other people, and I will give you the advice through that interactive AI. So that's real time, that exists. People are already selling it. I did a podcast interview with somebody that uses that. To me, I think that's a stepping stone. I don't think that's a long-term play. It harkens to the idea of, I can't remember the rapper, but I think it was in the UK that he had a rap show, like a live performance, but it was all holograms.
Those Tupac.
So people wouldn't pay $200 or $300 for a ticket, but they would pay $20 or $30 for a ticket, something like that, and still go see the hologram show. Now there is some novelty to just seeing a hologram show that maybe eventually will wear off. But that would be, I mean, that's a real actual use case. I just think long term it's going to disappear because nobody's going to talk to the AI avatar. Maybe that's not true. Actually, I can think of some uses where I would want to talk to an AI avatar. Like when I think difficult conversations, maybe it's like relationship advice, like not even professional, like maybe it's personal, like those types of things.
I've seen a lot of spiritual advice bots lately.
Have you?
I actually thought that might have been our topic for this week, was talking about some of that, because it's changing the landscape of, well, I don't want to say it's changing religion, but you have a lot of Christian nationals that are now turning to AI to discuss.
I thought they thought AI was the devil.
They did. Some of them did.
I think that's just fundamentalists, man. Not sure.
That might be the fundamentalists. Okay, I don't know which group.
Maybe that's the Amish for the Mennonites. They're probably not in the AI.
Should we,
well, as long as
should
it's
we
plugged
pull one
into
of
a
those in?
generator, then it's okay. But that's a different story.
Should we pull one of those in?
Do what now?
Should we pull one of those in to talk to?
An Amish what? I got lost.
An Amish avatar?
An Amish avatar? I'm down. Like, give me a second and I will program an Amish avatar.
I don't know what's real anymore. I said, should we pull one of those in?
That was pretty generic, Rob. You left that open wide.
Yeah, like a conversation with my wife right now. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are we putting the billionaire in? Is that what you want to know, if we're going to do the billionaire avatar?
Either the billionaire, or we could all do with some spiritual advice, I'm sure.
Well, I've got a billionaire tech bro prompt. We could try loading another one of those.
So here's one thing that I think is more, I don't know if it's more likely, but another area that I think is a use case is more of the secular side of it, the psychology, I guess would be a counselor, right? Talking to somebody about difficult issues in your life, because some of the biggest challenges that a counselor has when giving somebody advice is getting themselves out of the way, right? We kind of want to impart in people either um, our life experience or these types of things. This is also a difficulty we have as parents and in relationships with our spouses and so on. We always want to kind of look at it from our worldview. And so we present things in a way that makes sense to us, but not necessarily to the person that we're counseling. In my understanding, I had a cousin that was a counselor. A lot of their training was essentially unwinding your own personal baggage so that it doesn't color what you're hearing and seeing from the person. So if you removed all that by having AI that's just perfectly trained on psychology and didn't have any personal baggage, it's actually hard for me to imagine a scenario where that's not going to be dramatically better than a human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't mean a little bit, like I mean consistently better. And if you ever worked with counselors, and it could be anything, it'd be like a marriage counselor, it could just be individual, it could be for anxiety, I mean, all kinds of different things, or talk to people that have, just go to talk to anybody that's ever dealt with these. I mean, most of them aren't very good. Now, that's true of every profession, right? Like most computer programmers aren't that good, most lawyers aren't that good, most teachers aren't that good, most marketers aren't that good. Like, but what if you just increased the quality that you could get from that? Now, there is a counter argument to that, which is, yeah, but if we're not dealing with humans, is that okay? And I don't know that I have a moral quandary with that. It's like you're paying for the relationship anyway, and there are other parallels to this paying for a special relationship that we don't need to discuss. But like you're paying the therapist to be your friend, sort of. I mean, obviously it's much more professional than your friend. I'm not trying to degrade that. I'm just saying, like, to get that advice. So it's not a true, sacrificial relationship like you would have with a human. So why couldn't that just be
I think it
transitioned over to an AI?
I think you have to have human oversight in there somewhere, but I'm not sure how. Because at that point, you don't want a person sitting down looking over your chats with the bot. So how do you, even if it's anonymized, it's just
Well, and to
plain.
be fair, we've already done this, right? Like people put things into Google that they don't discuss with their friends.
That's
You don't,
very.
they don't even discuss with their therapist. Like, so that transition has already happened. I just think AI is going to make it even, it's going to accelerate it. And then obviously the extreme is, well, what the heck? Might as well just have a relationship with this thing. Gives me such good advice, so much better than my
So I
significant
don't think
other.
any of this is new. It's literally just
Not
using,
really new, but it's just getting better.
yeah, it's just using tech at another level. Like, okay, you should be able to chat with this, search Google, right? Now it's like, oh, you can chat with the LLM. Now you can actually have an audio chat with it. Now you can have an audio and video chat with it. Next you can
Right.
have like, you know,
Well,
and
and an
it's,
audio and video chat where you get to choose the voice, you get to choose the way they
yeah,
look,
yeah, correct.
right? You get to choose their personality.
Yep, yep.
You can have them call you master or like, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is the worst it's going to be. It just gets better from here. The tech gets better and better, better and
depends
better.
on where you're placing the worst, but the tech itself will get better.
The
Will it
tech
get
itself will get better. Yeah. The
worse for
technology.
humanity or better for
Oh,
humanity? That's a different question.
yeah, that's a toss up. They'll be arguing that for 100 years.
I mean, the
At
quick
least,
summary is something like
Yeah.
hard things make us better.
Is this one, Ethan? Yeah, this is Ethan's.
new
Yeah,
one.
I just wanted to
What?
put something on the screen. I felt like we were talking about a lot of different things there that can be done, but we weren't actually showing any of them. So I always think it's more interesting to show and tell. So Brian, if you've got any of those examples that you mentioned about the therapist or the spiritual advisor, Chuck, I think it'd be cool to
I didn't pull up
Well,
any.
run through one of those.
I don't know, but we could create one. We'll do that on the next video. We'll have both, and we'll have both. Let's bring the spiritual advisor and the secular therapist in, and then we'll give it some of Greg's problems and see how it handles it.
Whoa,
You
Deepak
got
Chopra's
99 problems, but a
guide.
glitch ain't one.
Guide.
Are you gonna play this, Rob? Or
It depends what our plan is. Have we got our tech bro ready, or did we want to talk about Ethan stuff?
I want to see Ethan's video. Let me see what the.
Wait, there
It's
was
short, right? It's only like 90 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it though.
wait, did you guys hear anything about an AI priest back in April?
No.
Apparently
Let's look
there
at
was
that. We're,
got rocked.
Yeah,
this is not good content.
I mean, it would have to be frocked to be defrocked. It seems unlikely that it was.
I'm just reading headlines.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
headline.
that's the problem.
I think we've got a strong 10 minutes in us somewhere from all of this with a show and tell, and then a this is good or this is bad, according
Show us
to.
the Ethan Malik double avatar video. It's only like 90 seconds, right?
Okay.
It's got to be entertaining.
I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'm going to play. You hear this?
Nope.
Yeah, just probably share a tab. I don't know if you can do that in this crazy thing.
Share a tab.
At least I know with other tools to get audio, you have to
Do the tab itself.
know the whole
Oh,
browser.
hold on. I got it.
Just doing a quick audio check here. Great question. So just to circle back, we're talking about that last team lunch. I mean, who knew Tom could eat that much pasta? But seriously, if anyone has any thoughts or insights on the lunch or anything else, I'm all ears. Let's keep that collaboration flowing, folks. Anyone want to jump in? Loud and clear. And yes, let's circle back to that last team lunch. It was such a blast, wasn't it? I mean, who knew Bob could devour 3 slices of pizza like that? What do you think we should do for the next one? Any ideas, or should we just keep the momentum going with something fun? Maybe a little team building activity. Let's brainstorm. Oh, hey, love the vibe. Everything's going great on my end. Just keeping my ear to the ground for any juicy updates. So about that last project, did you hear
Tom is
about
like
the
a pasta
unexpected magician? I'm still in awe. And yes, let's keep that collaboration flowing. Teamwork makes the dream work after all. So anyone got thoughts on a theme for our next lunch? Maybe we could do a potluck or something fun like a taco bar. I'm all about those good vibes. Come on, folks, don't be shy. Jump in.
All right.
Loud and clear.
I
And
think,
yes, that
I
team
think
lunch
that's
was an
enough.
absolute blast. I'm still
Taco bar.
Dude, that's like brilliant idea. Taco bar? Like, AIs are genius.
Yeah, they are. I solve all the world's problems in one
I
conversation.
mean, how many Zoom meetings have we had and we've never had a taco bar? Like,
Not one.
not
even
one. Like a decade of this remote work stuff, and we haven't ever had a taco bar.
Never.
This is so much. There's your use cases, Rob. Like, this brilliance is just coming out.
Should anyone be worried by this?
I mean,
That's
Anna,
a-
she's our chief happiness officer, and she never brought us a taco bar.
Yeah, I'd be concerned.
Where's fire up the firing avatar? Where does
Yeah,
that
where's
guy?
the firing avatar?
Difficult conversations. Let's get this started. You never suggested a taco bar. We feel like our happiness has dwindled because of this.
Why
Yeah,
not? Barriers.
better
I'm
ways.
gonna put no taco bar as a barrier for today, Greg.
Sounds good.
Other than taco bars, I mean, we're seeing this as what? Apart from a PR stunt from HeyGen, because it's not. Let's be kind and say it's not great.
I think it's pretty great, actually. I don't know that it's useful or effective, but let's be honest, most people sitting at work are just looking for entertainment in between the emails they're trying to send out. So it's pretty
That's
entertaining,
actually too true. Yeah, that's actually
right? Like Rob, you're biased because of the deep work and all of the efficiencies that we have and our focus on 80/20. But like your average corporate America person's just scrolling through LinkedIn and their social media saying, what can I do to be entertained today before, I got to file those TPS reports.
yeah.
I like making money. I don't feel like this is conducive to doing that. I feel like this is just an easy
Well,
way to
that's why
circle
a
the
lot of
drain.
large corporations aren't making any money.
Ethan Mollick's just sold a few books because of this, so I don't know what you're talking about, Rob.
He's a professor. They don't make any money. Everyone knows that.
They make all of the money.
So in a work setting, not useful, but as a consultant, doctor, something else, we're seeing this as useful.
Are you saying consultants and doctors don't work?
I'm saying they would benefit from being able to clone themselves and scale, right?
Well, I think so. If I'm going to talk to a remote doctor, which telemedicine is becoming much more popular right now, I'm paying what, $90, $150 with insurance, because that somehow makes sense. And I could just talk to a bot. And I'll tell you, if the bot has a face, it's going to make it easier to have that conversation. But
Is it?
they can get, I think so. If they can get some expressions moved into it, you're telling them, "Oh, I've had this bad stomach ache for 3 weeks," and they actually have some empathy to them and stuff. I think that's going to work out very nicely and will be a whole lot nicer than. I'll be honest, I'm not real impressed with our medical system ever since they made it better. So, I mean, I'm willing to do anything to talk to a doctor of some kind at this point.
So what I do, Chuck, and this has been really helpful for me, is I just have an ongoing chat with GPT, and it's not audio, it's not even video, it's just like whatever supplements or questions or get my blood work back. Hey, this thing's off. What can I do here? And so on. And is that research backed? Or hey, this new supplement I found, does this actually achieve the goal? Like here's all the ingredients in it, blah blah blah. How do these things interact? And like where would I even go to get any of those questions answered? I mean, imagine having that conversation with a pharmacist, a doctor, what kind of doctor, because it depends on your blood work, it depends on what the actual issue is, the micronutrient balance. Like this is opening up a level of personalized medicine that is not even remotely available now. You just can't get that. I mean, I connected on LinkedIn with somebody that was they couldn't call themselves a doctor. I think they call themselves like a thyroid coach. And I imagine she was very good at her job. But like just to engage to get started was like $5,000 plus about $1,200 in tests.
Yep.
I'm like, well, the tests probably are necessary. But if I just took the data and fed that into the AI, I find it hard to believe it's going to be that much not better. Because its base of knowledge is so much more vast than any individual human. And we've already seen this in research studies. I actually think Ethan Mollick pushed a few of them out, Rob, where they did doctors with AI and AI by itself. And do you know which one did best or which one did worst?
AI by itself.
Probably guess.
The doctor by itself did the worst. The doctor with AI did a little bit better, and the AI by itself did the absolute best as far as diagnosing. And we've already seen other studies where they showed that the AI is more empathetic than a doctor. So it's like you don't even need that whole discussion. To me, honestly, Chuck, I feel like that's a little bit of a limitation because if I have an idea, like what about this for my regimen, or if I'm working out and I'm doing this type of activity or whatever, I'll just go type it into my ongoing multi-month GPT discussion and quick add it, and then I'll get an answer and like, okay, but then I won't touch it for I don't know 3 days. I don't have any questions, 4 days, whatever, and then I go back to it. Like I don't need to pull up and have a person. It's just this ongoing conversation. So anyway, I don't, maybe that's me. Maybe other people will just like the whole standard process. So the standard process is I set a schedule an appointment, I go talk to the doctor, we have a video chat, blah, 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 we end that and we move on. But I actually think just the entire way we interact with medicine is going to change, which is this sort of never ending as I think of something, oh, I just ate this food, it makes me feel this certain way, or man, I was really cramping up today on my workout. Can anything I'm doing affect that? Like I think it's just this never-ending conversation. It's going to be, it could be audio, it could be video, but chat's probably more efficient and cheaper for, just getting the information.
So Brian, you're saying that you told me about this earlier, which, by the way, we're cutting that whole chat. It went in too many different directions. But you told us about this solution, Delphi. So you're saying that if you took all of the knowledge that your doctor has, which presumably a lot of it comes from an online database or something, right? Because I don't see many doctors leafing through books now. So if you could take all of that information and then clone your doctor's face for 60% of the times you might need to go to the doctor, you'd be happy to just go to your computer instead and speak to that doctor.
Well, I think that shows the whole limitation, right? So any one doctor, all of their published works, all of their research, all of their information is going to still be a mere fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the actual knowledge. So why would you rely on a single doctor or a single marketer or a single lawyer or a single whoever's body of knowledge?
Branding, baby, branding. That's the whole
Like-
reason we do anything. It's branding.
That's it, right? So if I want to go talk to Tony Robbins, so okay, Tony Robbins is a smart guy, he's been successful, he owns 100 businesses or whatever. Totally, absolutely. But even Tony Robbins has a limited amount of knowledge and information comparatively. Now, the only argument I would say that you could potentially make here is that if my knowledge base is such that it is contrary to, provably and effectively contrary to the normal, but it gets results, then you can say, okay, cool, this guy's whatever out there, he's on a different level, he's over here getting things done and so on. And I think this is where sort of, I don't know if this is true or not, but sort of maybe the pseudoscience type things is going to be popular. Maybe that's the spiritual things you were talking about, Chuck, because a lot of the, manifesting and The Secret and, all these sort of pseudoscience, pseudo psychology, pseudo self-help things now start blending together. Yeah, I mean, I see a market for that. Is that better or worse for us? Well, I'll leave that up to the consumers to decide. But I just don't see why any individual is going to be better than the collective knowledge.
Well, they won't be, but see, you've got two things at play here. It's not just the person's knowledge. Like Tony Robbins, he's got knowledge, but what does he really have? Personality. He has charisma. That's what people want to interact with. So if you have that personality and that kind of charisma with all the knowledge of mankind behind it, then the AI Tony Robbins is much better than the real Tony Robbins. So if
But
you're
hold on. It's not going to be the knowledge of all mankind, right? It has to be his knowledge based on his understanding of the world.
I don't think so.
Otherwise, it's not Tony Robbins.
It's his personality. He just got all of humanity's knowledge dumped into him. See, that's the thing. We're talking about knowledge or personality. Is he his personality and his charisma, or is he his knowledge?
I
Sure.
think that's a good point, Chuck. And you just triggered an idea that's even more lizard brain. If I could get, let's say, the advice from Tony Robbins, but in a package that I find attractive, now you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't even have to look at Tony Robbins. Not that he's a bad looking guy. I'm just saying, like, maybe there's somebody else that I feel is better looking, and they can train me on computer programming, or they can train me on sales or whatever. And like, I actually want to interact with this AI because of the physical attraction, because of the personality attraction, because of the knowledge. Now you're just manufacturing, I don't know, an ideal.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that becomes, but I think you're right. There's a less of a logical connection, more of that emotional or, lizard brain
It's down to, yeah, it's an emotion.
connection, and that does affect humans for sure.
Yeah,
And that gets a little bit creepy.
very creepy. I mean, Rob, you can still give it to his Tony Robbins knowledge. It would have Tony Robbins knowledge. It's just it would have all the other knowledge as well. And if you told the bot it was Tony Robbins and it had his knowledge and the rest of the world's knowledge, I think it would behave very similar to Tony Robbins. If you
I
prompt,
do think that you have to put some sort of boundaries on that, though, Chuck, because the rest of the world's knowledge might be
contradictory in some cases,
either contradictory or less valuable.
possibly.
So if I'm reading Reddit and there's some person on there making a comment about how to run a business that has never run a business and has, made $100 online, or I get advice from Tony Robbins, like there's the volume of fools that have put stuff online, is not as good as
That's
you know,
true.
the experience of Tony Robbins. So all of human knowledge is a
Dangerous thing.
yes, that is a dangerous thing to consider, because most of it is not very useful and is probably detrimental on any given topic.
I mean, you can take his books and line up his books and stuff as like the core knowledge base, but if it's an AI, it still has all of that knowledge up into the cutoff of the
You know
training.
what it could be if you take it a step further? I was looking at my Goodreads, and so I started using that, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, and I got 312 read books in there so far that's been tracking. I could like go through and say, okay, don't just take my knowledge, because my knowledge is a fraction of and a result of what I've taught, what I've learned, what I've exposed myself to. So if you want the Brian avatar, you don't just look at the things I wrote and I've developed and so on. You look at the sources from which I got them from. So if I built, and so Tony Robbins says, well, these are my 50 or 100 favorite books. These are the best books I've read. These are the ones that have really influenced my mindset. And then that became part of the training data. Now I've exponentially increased the amount of information.
Right.
It's still Tony Robbins level. It might even be a level above that. And to be fair, some of the books that I read are very contradictory. One book has this point, and like I read them purposely because they're contradictory.
Right. You want to get different viewpoints.
Right. And so that does get a little bit tricky because, well, which part of the book do I agree with, do I not agree with? Becomes, maybe a little bit challenging. But that could be, well, okay, I'm going to take the ones that are less contradictory, the ones that I tend to agree with, and this is going to be part of my data set, not just me personally. And then is that, we've already discussed the copyright aspect of that's not actually copying the books, it's learning from them.
Right.
Just like the neural network of our brain learns, it doesn't copy the material we read. But that probably gets to be more effective and over time. So 10 years from now, I've got 600 books in Goodreads or whatever, and it just literally takes all my 5 stars or 4 stars and keeps feeding in. That could be a pretty interesting knowledge base. But even then, it's like, yeah, but what 10,000 or 20,000 books haven't I read that I should have?
Yeah, that's why I don't think
Alright,
that's
so
a good approach, personally.
Do you want to wrap up with what might be a good approach and how this relates back to what Ethan's doing here?
He's playing.
No, because
No,
Strong finish.
I like
it's
it.
it's
I got
very very surface level, all of this. If you really want an AI that is useful in any case, can't just feed it information because it has all the information. It's about a structure, a system, a way of defining what you're trying to achieve, whatever that is. If you want to have a person that replicates a person, it's not feeding about information about that person. It's about what drives that person. What's that person into? What do they care about? How do they do it? Their goals, their vision, their stuff. Not just what they read. And you have to then, if you take all the stuff, like Brian said, all the books he reads, why is he reading those books? And then has an outline of Brian's personality, let's say, right? What drives him, and so then it's like, okay, that's what you have to base these things off of, is actually what, if you want to make something that's specific to Brian or any of these other people, it's what makes them them. Not just what they read, what they do, and none of that. It's literally what defines who they are and who they believe they are and their goals and stuff. So
Should we wrap it?
Sounds good.